Welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy presents our MLB DFS pitcher picks for Friday, May 12th, 2017. Somehow the month of May is just about half gone. I'm not sure how we keep finding ourselves in this situation. And we are without NBA for the first time in a little while now, so not sure. I haven't checked to see when the Eastern Conference Finals started yet. Well, it would be the Western Conference Finals started yet, but it will be soon, inevitably, so we'll be back to getting those wonderful two-game slates. Baseball has an interesting dynamic to it tonight. Again, it's another night where we have a pretty decent amount of quality pitching on the hill, and it's Clayton Kershaw night in Coors. So the deal with that, and this is, Kershaw is not one of our picks because his history in Coors is less stellar than everything else he's done. So that's the first thing we kind of got to put out there. I think he's not off the table in tournaments, in my opinion. Yes, he's extremely expensive. Actually, today he's not expensive at all. I'm looking at his price, $9,800 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's more reasonably priced, or at least comparative to, I know he's less than Johnny Cueto, so I think he's probably just over $10,000, but make no mistakes about it, Kershaw can throw a gem anywhere. Even though his history in Coors hasn't been great, doesn't mean that he can't go out there and toss an 8-inning, 12-strikeout game, especially considering he's actually dominated the Rockies through their history outside of Coors. If he happens to do it there, and I know that the sneaky tournament thought tonight is going to be to put Rockies in your lineup because Kershaw might only go 6 innings, so you get 3 innings of relief. But all I'm saying is if Kershaw goes 8 innings and gets those high number of strikeouts, you're shot and it's over. But yeah, a lot of options we could look to, a lot of places we could go in terms of hitting as well. I think tonight I'll start off with Miguel Gonzalez, 7,400 on FanDuel. I believe he's 8K on DraftKings. Surprisingly, he's been a pretty quality pitcher thus far this year. Has only had like one really bad game, one game that wasn't so great, but pretty much he's been there for the rest. Downside is obviously he's not a high strikeout guy. I think his highest strikeout on the year was 6, but if he's able to minimize damage in terms of runs allowed and hits allowed, he could put up a quality start for sure, as he's done 4 out of 6 times this year. The Padres are one of those offenses that you never know what to make of them. Like, I was very frustrated in my write-ups on, for yesterday, because I had to mention, Martin Perez is a good pitcher tonight, and it was like, my goodness, here's the world we live in. We're talking about Martin Perez, but he did fine. I mean, so we know the Padres are still susceptible to pitching. They're not that good, They've got better pieces, but their pieces are so young that they're not panning out quite yet. So I think it makes sense to have some exposure to Miguel Gonzalez tonight. Moving up the list a little bit, Chris Tillman made our article, but that was prior to them actually changing Tillman to Dylan Bundy. So now I'm back on Dylan Bundy going up against Kansas City, because I don't know if anyone's noticed this year, but the Royals are awful. It has been a frustrating month trying to play any of their players and expect something good out of them. You can, in isolation, have played, Moustakas, Perez, Kane, and Jorge Bonifacio. But other than that, they've been baseball's version of the Factory of Sadness. So Dylan Bundy, who does have some control issues, that's something we have to point out because, he's like a Michael Pineda with maybe a little bit less downside. But the upside is what we're after. He's a guy who could definitely get it done. Overall, he's been pitching very well. Strikeout game is not great. He has one game over 8 strikeouts. I think a lot of it just depends on the opponent, and I think the Royals are a team that could definitely open the door to him having a big night. Also, my last tournament option on the night is going to be Lance McCullers. McCullers is finally a guy we can talk about that does have a higher strikeout rate. He's notched 10 Ks in 2 separate games. He's also allowed 5 runs in 2 games this year. He's had 5 out of 7 quality starts, so that's a plus. And he's gone deeper into games, only getting knocked out in less than 6 innings twice. So, I mean, he's a reasonable option. We saw the Yankees yesterday but really get shut down by Dallas Keuchel. They had been a pretty strong offense. I would argue that McCullers is probably a little bit of a better pitcher than most of the Yankees lineups are hitters. So I don't really mind that. I think that he's going to be a pretty solid target. We saw that the Yankees do strike out enough. That was against a lefty. McCullers is a righty. Not saying there's no risk here, but when looking at some of the other options around him, I really don't mind McCullers tonight. So that'll wrap it up for our pitcher picks. Once again, we've got Miguel Gonzalez, Dylan Bundy, Lance McCullers. Thanks for watching today. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Head over to ResearchFantasy.com. Sign up for our MLB mailing list. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Research and Win. And join us again tomorrow.